From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, consider this with Kathy Wyatt, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Breaking news this morning, Dan Osborne running for Nebraska Senate again. Independent candidate will challenge Senator Pete Ricketts for the seat in 2026. He lost to Deb Fischer in last November's election. His website has a number of town halls that are already scheduled and a campaign kickoff scheduled for July 26th.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to the 28th season and this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, Election 2026, the bid for U.S. Senate. Joining us to talk more about it is independent candidate Dan Osborne. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Sure, thanks for having me on the beautiful campus here.
All right, you are very welcome. Now I want to let viewers know before we begin, we did try to reach out to the Ricketts campaign. We did not receive a response. All right, Dan, I want to start with this opening video. What are your thoughts as you watch that?
Excitement. I'm excited to be doing this again. And I hope the people of Nebraska and people nationwide who watched on the edge of their seats in 2024 as we were wrapping it up are excited as well. I think there's an appetite for my brand of politics, I suppose.
Okay, I want to know, when did you know you were going to run for office?
I suppose that it began with COVID. The backstory, I have to start with COVID. We all have our COVID stories, not too many of them good. But in 2020, I was working at Kellogg's as a mechanic, industrial mechanic. I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. At one point in time, 50% of our workforce was forced quarantined and or sick, and we kept 4 American plants running at full capacity during that time with minimal crews. And they made record profits. They went from $19 billion to $21 billion that year. The CEO gave himself a $2 million raise. The board enriched themselves and the stockholders enriched themselves. And our contract happened to expire. So I thought it would be a no-brainer. We'd get a little sliver of the pie, but instead they sat across the negotiating table from us and they said, we're going to take your health insurance. We're going to take your cost of living adjustments, our only form of wage increases, and then they're going to implement a permanent two-tier wage system with no path for a lower tier employee to go to the upper tier. So for me as president of my union then was a big oh crap moment, I can say that, right? For me. And but we all felt like we were on the right side of history on this, and we shut down 4 manufacturing plants and we walked off the job to preserve our wages and benefits. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do is take 500 of my friends, it was 1,500 total nationwide, but 500 here in Nebraska, out into the great unknown, not knowing if we're going to have a job at the end of this. But again, we all felt we were doing the right thing and that we were doing what we had to do. And we were on strike for 77 days. During that time, I knew politics was going to play a role in it. I haven't always been a political person. I've paid a little bit of attention, but haven't really been on the forefront of it. And I knew Democrats were going to come out to the picket line, support our cause. But out on the picket line, there's no black or white or Republican or Democrat. It's people that want to go to work. So I never really understood why one party owns that, right? And for clarification, I've been a registered independent my whole life. I've never understood why I have to accept a set of values and reject another set to be a part of the party. But out on the picket line, I knew I had to put pressure on Kellogg, so I was able to get a Nebraska congressman out to the picket line, and I was able to get our then governor to draft a letter and send it to the CEO, Steve Cahillane, imploring him to get our people back to work. And so that was my introduction to politics. And then once we had won the strike and I really had started to think about and digest what happened during that time, I realized how much corporations and special interests and people with money really control our politics. So I wanted to do something about it. And so it came about with the railroaders in central Nebraska that were upset with Senator Fischer and the way she votes with rail. She always sides with the big business and not the workers. So essentially I was recruited to run for U.S. Senate. And obviously I said yes, and the rest is history.
Well, I wanted to ask you, first I want to ask, why independent? Why is that so important to you?
Well, I think, again, I've been a registered independent from the time I could vote. And I just, I feel like we're stuck in a two-party doom loop. And I think people need another option right now. Again, I think there's an appetite for that. We're starting to see that emerge throughout the country. I mean, just here in Nebraska, the fastest growing demographic of people registering to vote are registering as independents. People are abandoning, both parties because they're frustrated with us not getting things done in Congress. The Farm Bill, for example, we're on extension from 2018, I believe, and the farming industry and people are starting to suffer because of that. So we need some wins. We need to start working together again, and I think an independent is uniquely positioned to try to bring people together.
You said that folks approached you and kind of recruited you into this run for U.S. Senate. Did you ever, in your thought process, think, wow, that's kind of starting really right out of the gates into something a little bit maybe bigger than you, perhaps? Sure. Did you ever consider like a local government, like maybe starting off a little bit more in one community and working your way out? Or how did that shake out?
Well, I guess the short answer is no. I never really thought about running for, being union president was a big job, right? It's a difficult job because you have, both sides that you have to navigate between. And I got pretty good at it, and negotiating between companies and employees can be very difficult. Both times, both sides will not like you, and you have to make difficult decisions, but it's, again, very important role. And some things are bigger than us, and this is certainly one of the things that's bigger than me. It's bigger than my family, but I sat my family down this time around, and it's hard on them. It's probably harder on my family than certainly it is on me, because they have to see all this unfold on social media and the bullying that is accompanied by it, and but they are concerned for their future. My kids are. They're afraid to be. If they're going to be homeowners. Everything is exponentially harder at their age than it was for me coming up. And they understand that I am going to be more of a champion for them and on these issues than Senator Ricketts will be. Okay,
let's talk about your last run for Senate. We're going to put up a graphic, and as we're doing that, just thoughts that are coming to mind when you think about that race.
Yeah, it was... It all happened very quickly for me. It was just, I look back on it, it was a whirlwind, right? I mean, we started from nothing. We started with an idea from some railroaders in central Nebraska, and we turned it into earning 47% of the vote in Nebraska. And so for me, that's something that, although we fell short, was an accomplishment that I'm proud of, and I'm proud of the people that helped me make that happen. And I don't want just to let that go. I think we're onto something here with our messaging and how we talk about issues and bringing people together instead of continually dividing Americans. That's what we're all about, and I'm excited to give it another shot. Okay, I wanted to note in your concession speech, you thanked supporters. And while it wasn't the outcome that you had hoped for, according to the World Herald, it changed American politics. How would you respond to that? Well, we're starting to see independent candidates pop up around the country. I started an organization called Working Class Heroes, where we are supporting the working class people. It's hard to do. I just got off work myself, and so I'm balancing 40 hours with my family and doing this. I'm probably not going to be able to take a leave of absence till the weather turns again next year. And that's why a lot of people like me in my position don't do it. And so I want to give people an avenue to be able to do that and know that there's a support group, there's some framework out there for them to be able to do the same. Because the fact remains, less than 2% of our elected officials in both the House and Senate come from the working class. I got a problem with that. And I want to probably define working class too, right? It's the bus drivers, it's the nurses, it's the teachers, it's the carpenters, it's people who are on a salary that slave away in a cubicle. I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's people who know what it's like to put Christmas on a credit card and struggle through life financially, and it's getting harder. and I want to represent those people with a seat at the table.
Okay. I will tell you that before we talk about the next campaign, I Wikipedia.com'd you. And this is what it says about you, Dan, that you're a 50-year-old U.S. Navy veteran, industrial mechanic, former labor union leader, and independent politician in Nebraska. What about according to you, right? That's according to Wikipedia. What would you tell me about yourself?
Well, I suppose, you know, you mentioned United States Navy. I don't know if you have Nebraska Army National Guard on there. I did that as well because I love the country and the state that I live in. I wanted to serve, you know, but that's who I am at my core. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I'm a guy who punched a clock for, 22 years and raised a family and focused on that. Mm-hmm. And, I had this great thing thrust upon me, and I accepted the challenge. It took some deliberation, but accepted the challenge. And again, just a person who's principled mm-hmm. and wants to do this to give my family and future generations to continue a shot at the American dream, ultimately.
All right, let's take a look at your family. We have a photo of them. And so as we're doing that, talk about, and you have a little bit, but talk about what your family means to you and what role they're playing in your life journey at this time.
Well, that's a great picture because we're not all fighting with each other in that picture. Like
you look like you get along, Dan.
We do get along. We do get along. But, I think we probably argue about everything everybody argues about. You shouldn't have gone into my room, that kind of thing. No, but they're everything to me. And it's everything I do and everything I've ever done. Every decision I've ever made has been for them. And that's how I'm going to continue to operate and give them hopefully be a part of a level playing field where they'll be able to get ahead and raise families of their own, hopefully someday.
This, and you've alluded to it, but this is just not an easy change for them, right? I mean, life was already busy enough, thank you very much. I mean, I'm just looking at your family, I can't even imagine how busy all of you are. In these early times, and I know you've run before, but as you're getting ramped up with this particular go-around, what are you finding? What kind of vibe are you feeling from them? I mean, is it just full speed ahead, or is there a bit of reluctance? You talked about social media and how kind and also cruel that can be. So what is that, I don't know, dynamic like right now? And I'm sure with your awareness, how are you and your wife moving forward to just try to make sure that you're checking in with your kids from time mm-hmm. to time?
Yeah, it's like I've always told them, life isn't easy. I kind of like those little analogies. I love sports analogies. Life's always going to throw you curveballs. You just mm-hmm. need to learn how to hit the curveball, right? And this is certainly one of those. It's not going to be easy again. So it's a roller coaster of emotions for us. We have great days where everything goes our way in the campaign and in life, and then we have, just like every other family, medical emergencies, mm-hmm. Expenses that come in, and we're trying to do this and maintain not going into debt. And there's every aspect of life. I live it every day, but I'm gonna continue to work hard and do what I do for them every single day to, again, ensure their future.
Okay, tell me what Saturday, July 26th means to you.
It's going to be a party. It's going to be our kickoff. We're going to have Connor Oberst from Bright Eyes playing music for us, and I raised my kids off that music. I love him and his music, and I'm really excited to have that there, and hopefully have, I don't know how many people are going to show up. Hopefully it's a lot of people, and just celebrate what it is we're doing and give this campaign a shot in the arm and some momentum taking off.
Give us some particulars. Where is it going to take place? What time? That kind of thing. So if viewers are watching and they're thinking, I might want to go check that out, what would you say to them?
So if viewers are watching this and they have already received a flyer, the venue has changed. And the time has changed. So
This is good, okay, that we're talking about it.
yeah. So it was supposed to be at Local 464, and we were going to have it outside. It's a big parking lot. But we're concerned that if some inclement weather comes, then the whole thing's just shut down. So right now, tentatively, it is at Scottish Rite, which is a indoor concert venue. And it's going to be at 3 o'clock on July 26th.
Okay, very, very good. What is when you step up to the microphone, what is your message going to be that particular day?
Well, the message is going to be, we made a huge impact in 2024. Obviously, this time the message is we're going to win this time, and we're going to win this so we can uplift all of Nebraskans. Our politics today is seemingly winner take all. Which means if you have a winner, then you have to have a clear set of losers. I certainly have a problem with that. Sometimes I feel like I'm a child in the middle of a nasty divorce. Republicans just want to beat Democrats, and Democrats just want to beat Republicans, and I feel like sometimes that leaves us behind. And meanwhile, the billionaire class and the corporations are carving everything up for themselves, and we're seeing this massive wealth continue to funnel to the top, the top 0.5% in particular. And for us, for people like me, I feel like we're on a race to the bottom. And that's the message I want to get out to everybody, is there are ways to combat that, right? Capitalism, I don't have a problem with capitalism. I think it's great. Like I said, Kellogg's made a ton of money. That was great, and they did it off our backs. That's great. We all understand what we're in our roles to do. But unchecked capitalism can be dangerous. And that's what we're seeing right now, right? We're seeing 5 families that have amassed more wealth than 90% of Americans. So again, it's funneling to the top. Antitrust, anti-monopoly laws that are already on the books, that we continue to need to advocate for and create new laws to, again, create that level playing field for our small family farmers and ranchers to be able to compete in business. Competition drives down cost, plain and simple. And when you just have a few players in any industry, that's going to be problematic. So that's something I want to be a champion of, and I will preach in hopefully 300 public events across Nebraska.
Wow, lessons learned. I mean, when you look back at the last run here and you're thinking moving forward, we all have lessons to learn. What will you take from that specifically and bring with you everywhere you go on this campaign?
Yeah, well, the lessons is what I learned in 2024 was going out, meeting people where they live, where they work, learning about their issues, and every place is just a little bit different than the next, right? And even in a bigger city like Omaha, the different parts of Omaha, everybody has their own trials and tribulations and things that are good and things that are bad, and things we need to be talking about that we're not talking about. And I like to take a little piece of every event that I do, every town hall that I do, and take it to the next one and help educate people in Crawford, Nebraska, what I learned in Red Cloud, Nebraska, and also challenge people too. I don't just go to places and preach, this is the way things should be, and I learn from them and challenge them to come up with solutions to the problems that they face, because that's one of the things about working for a corporation for so long. I was always frustrated. They would come in and they would make these ridiculous changes that we all saw, like, this isn't going to work. They're going to waste millions of dollars doing this. And they did, because they didn't ask the workers. They didn't ask the people who were involved in that life, in that process every single day. And so it failed. And that, I think, is the fundamental part of our government in this country, what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. A government by and for the people. If you want to know what's wrong, you got to ask the people. And so I'm a firm believer in that, and that's what we're going to continue to do. You've
kind of spoken to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. A U.S. Senator represents their state in national and international affairs. How does one begin to successfully do that for Nebraska?
Yeah, well, I think it's, just because you're elected doesn't mean you stop talking to people as well. I want to be as transparent as possible because I've never been in the U.S. Senate like most people, right? And so a lot of us probably don't know what the day-to-day life is of a senator and how they come to the decisions that they come to and how they vote on issues and policies. I want to be completely transparent with that. I want to start a podcast where I talk about what happened during that week and why I did what I did. And again, I would like to take, if I win, my microphone's going to be huge. And I want to amplify what it is I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then continue to go out and engage constituents of Nebraska every day that their lives are being affected by decisions I make. I wouldn't take that lightly.
Okay. Because you've been around the state and talked to so many people, I'm going to ask, what do you think Nebraskans are doing well?
Nebraskans are some hard workers. I'll tell you what, they work hard. They're proud of their work. They're proud of what they do. They're proud of their towns. They're proud of where they're from. And they're going to continue to do that. And so, like I said, that goes back to my message. I want to continue for them to be able to pursue the American dream. But I think that's what we're doing well. We're creating jobs. Nebraska, I mean, we're getting into wind. That's going to create a lot of jobs. Those farmers go out. I don't have to tell everybody, 2% of a population, probably less than that, feeds the rest of us. So that is such an important issue that we have to protect, and we have to keep sustainable for those folks. And I think the key is this smaller family farmers and ranchers, because they live on the land. They drink the water from their wells, so they have every reason to do it environmentally safe, raise the food that they're going to be eating as well, that we're going to be eating, and it's so important. But if we let that all go, we're going to have problems. And so then you can branch out into, going into the smaller towns. The two biggest employers in any town throughout Nebraska is going to be their school and their hospital. So those are things that we have to protect. And, in this current bill, and especially in the way my opponent voted for it when it was in the Senate, is going to be problematic for Nebraskans. We're seeing that hospital already closed, and the name's going to escape me now. In the town in Nebraska, Curtis, thank you. I don't know where the next closest hospital is, but I know it's not down the street, right? And if you're in the back of an ambulance, again, there's no Democrats or Republicans in the back of an ambulance. There's just somebody who needs a doctor, and we're all going to need a doctor at some point in time. And it has to be available to them. It has to be affordable to them. And these are the issues that I'm afraid is going to affect it, because they cut $1 trillion from Medicaid, and in the House, the version that Rigas didn't vote for, but they're adding $50 billion. Not a mathematician, that math doesn't add up. That's $50 billion for 50 states over the course of 5 years. I don't have the crystal ball, but I think that's going to be problematic for people. And that's something we need to be addressing and talking about and figuring out, if the worst case scenario happens, what are we going to do for people, right? Yeah. And what are we going to do to help folks get to the doctor and have health care and child care, and then you can move into the urban areas, and we talk about bringing manufacturing back to this country. With the CHIPS Act, we're seeing manufacturing come back, but those are the things that we need to protect. That's our way of life. That's our jobs, right? But it has to also be a wage that we can live with, that we can pay our bills and afford to go out to dinner. That's what makes a strong economy, is if every American is being able to be lifted up and be able to afford a house or the rent. And these are the things that I'm constantly thinking about, and that's how I'm going to approach policy. Okay.
We have just 3 minutes remaining here. What could we be doing better, and what could government be doing to help?
Well, we can definitely be keeping conversations going, right? We can be doing better. I'll talk about the government piece. We can pass a dang farm bill already. We're getting left behind. The subsidies, the crop prices are out of date. We have to keep our farmers profitable. Because I don't have to explain to everybody what happens if it's not, right? Then we're not eating, and then that's someplace I don't want to go. So we have to get ahead of this. We have to pass the farm bill. We have to keep our farmers profitable. But the flip side to the farm bill is our SNAP benefits, right? We have to continue to lift up and keep talking about how we can make it better. If the one side doesn't like the SNAP benefits, well, how can we come and meet in the middle? Should our welfare systems be tiered so we're not keeping people down? I had a tenant from a rental house that I owned. I tried to get into investment properties for a hot minute, but she came to me and she was crying. She was like, "Dan, I have to quit my job because I got a $5 an hour raise and a promotion." And therefore she would be booted off the program. So her rent would go up, everything goes up, and it's now affordable. That $5 an hour didn't cover it. So those are the things that we have to make better, and that's up to our lawmakers.
Okay, we have about a minute left. Final thoughts for our viewers.
Well, I would just think, what you're going to get from me, again, you're going to get somebody who's going to approach policy and issues objectively based off of what I learned from the people in Nebraska. I want to go back to the way this is supposed to be, a government by and for the people. And right now, it's a government for the 1% and the corporations and special interests. We have to fix that piece. So we have to start electing people who are going to champion issues such as right to repair, such as anti-monopoly and antitrust laws.
Talking about election 2026, the bid for U.S. Senate with the Dan Osborne. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for being with us. Folks wanting more information can go here, osborneforsenate.com or PeteRicketts.com. Dan, I want to thank you for joining us today, for sharing your time, expertise, your stories, and I want to wish you the very best as you move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, you betcha. Thanks to our students who are working so hard behind the scenes, and of course, to all of you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television in the School of Communication. More information and program archives can be found at nebraskapublicmedia.org/considerthis. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call the UNO School of Communication at 402-554-2600 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.